Well, hey there, sweet peas. Welcome back to Friendless. I'm your host, James Avramenko, and this week I am joined by my friend, Tessa Irwin. We discuss the communal impacts of patronizing artists, the pitfalls of independent filmmaking across the world, the legal pitfalls of lobsters on film, and so much more. Tessa is a dear friend, and I was so excited to get her on the show. But enough from me. Let's get to the interview. It's time to lean back, get comfy, set your volume at a reasonable level, and enjoy my interview with the one and only Tessa Irwin here on Friendless. All right, this week on Friendless, I have a dear friend of mine, Tessa Irwin, who we actually tried this once already.
Yeah.
This is take two.
That was rehearsal.
Exactly, right, exactly. This was just it was just it was a test run to make sure that all our microphones work, and they did it that time.
Yeah.
Which is why we're doing it now.
I have new headphones now.
Amazing. I felt so friggin' bad because I loved the conversation we had, but as I was editing that first pass of it, it hit a point where I was just like, there's nothing I can do here.
Oh.
You know?
I don't remember what we talked about. Most
Fair,
of it.
fair,
Anyway.
Fair. And I'm sure we'll circle to a lot of it right
Yeah.
now, in this conversation, because yeah. So I won't caveat too much. I'll let you answer the question. But for listeners who may not know you, may not be familiar with you, who the hell are you?
I'm Tessa. I'm your friend.
Okay.
I work mostly in the Canadian film industry as an assistant director for the last decade or so, which is terrifying.
So, one thing that has really what's the right word for it? Something I'm continually surprised by since moving back to Vancouver is all the people who kind of low key work in film. Because I just remember growing up, it was always like this unattainable other world, and my first dream was to be a film actor. That was the thing that, like, when I was a kid, I remember seeing the Bela Lugosi Dracula.
Oh, yeah.
And like finding out that was an actor, finding out that was like a guy who got to put on a costume, and I was like, that's the coolest fucking thing. Like, how could you not want to do that for the rest of your life? Just to, like, get paid to be Dracula? Fuck yeah, But it was always this like out of reach world, and now coming back to Vancouver, it's like everybody's just like low key working in film in some capacity,
Yeah, it's very strange in Vancouver. Like, I worked for so hard in Australia to try and like break into the film industry, and it seemed like such a struggle, and you really had to like do so many hours of volunteering, and then you might meet someone who might be able to give you a job at some point. And then I came to Vancouver, and I was very lucky in that when I got here, the film industry was like booming like crazy. And my interview was pretty much someone calling me at 8 p.m. at night being like, can you be here tomorrow? It was like no resume,
Yeah.
no questions, just, do you have a heartbeat? Can you be here at 8 a.m.?
Amazing.
And then there's so many people in the film industry that have like degrees and qualifications in like other things. Like, my good friend and coworker has a neuroscience degree. Like, people like just did all these other things, and then just kind of through some weird circumstance fell into the film industry. Yeah, so it's quite an odd collection of people.
So does the film industry, like, behind the scenes work that pays better than a neuroscience scientist? A neuroscience?
Well, I think they also worked out that they just didn't like working in a lab.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
yeah, but
Gotcha.
it does pay very well.
Yeah.
To work in film. The downside to that is that you work incredibly long hours,
Yeah.
or often are out of work if
Yes.
the industry is not doing well.
Yeah.
But if you get regular work, you can make excellent money.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the consistency piece.
Yeah.
When I was living in Calgary, that was when I finally started kind of taking one crack at it. Especially because in those years, I mean, I'm sure it's still the same, but tons of Western stuff was filming. So if you had a beard and long hair, you were cast. But the spacing between projects was just untenable. and that was being an actor. So even though you get all the accolades, you're also real low down the rung in terms of what you're being paid to do, right?
Yeah.
How do you maintain that? Like, do you find you just have to kind of like buckle up and ride the waves, or like how do you roll through that kind of feast famine style?
I mean, it has been a struggle, particularly the last few years. I mean, when I got here for years, it was excellent. Like I could just work as much as I wanted to, which was great. But then, COVID and the strikes, there's been some real dry patches. Even now, it's still hasn't gotten back to pre-strike levels. I mean, like I've been saved a lot of money, and so have been able to go long periods in between, with some EI help here and there.
Sure, yeah.
But I mean, during the strikes, actually worked as a cleaner for a bit on TaskRabbit.
Fuck yeah.
Which wasn't as bad as I would have thought. It was actually quite enjoyable.
Yeah.
It was like weirdly enjoyable.
I've always said my favorite job that I ever had was a dishwasher.
Yeah.
Like if I could pay my rent and live comfortably as a dishwasher, fuck yeah. It's just that no job pays well for that,
No.
But I love those kind of jobs,
I mean, it actually paid surprisingly well.
Really?
Cleaning people's houses. People will pay you a lot of money so that they don't have to do those things.
I guess,
which is pretty funny for like essentially unqualified job.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But that, I mean, that's funny. That leads me in such a different digression than I thought we would go. But like, I am a huge proponent of if anybody is going to get overpaid, it should be these quote unquote unskilled labor tasks.
Yeah,
those are the jobs that actually matter.
Yeah,
those are the jobs that we need, and without them, society falls apart. Society would be fine if we lose the CEOs.
Exactly.
Nothing's gonna change.
Yeah.
But if we lose the cleaners, if we lose the dishwashers, we're fucked.
Yeah.
Because heaven help us if we have to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So like those are the people who should be fucking ranking in the bucks.
It's funny. I was talking with my sister about this recently. Like, shouldn't CEOs being the first ones to replace with AI? Like. Isn't that essentially, aren't they like predicting markets and things like that? Isn't that what AI is for? Like, let's replace CEOs with AI.
Yep. I saw the bleakest graphic the other day. So a couple weeks ago, I went to a tech convention thing. Big, all these people talking about what is coming down the pipeline and stuff like that. And it led to this discussion about how the next wave that a lot of these kind of like entrepreneurs think is coming is essentially like one person enterprises, where it's just a single founder CEO and then a ton of AI bots running different programs. And there's like an infographic of it, and it's so fucking bleak because every task is like bot does this, never stops working, never complains. And it's so fucking gross, and it's one of those images of like, tell me you're a sociopath without telling me you're a sociopath, know. But I agree wholeheartedly. It's so funny to me that the people who are the most like dazzled by AI are the CEOs.
Yeah.
And yet they're the ones who technically should be the ones being replaced by it.
Yeah.
The motherfuckers.
Yeah. Yeah. No, replace studio heads with AI. They can predict what people want to watch. They know exactly.
And just let especially that idea of like the meddling producers and stuff like that, right? Like let them be the AI so that you can be like, quiet down, pal.
Turn off.
Right, exactly.
Ignore requests. I love it.
Do you, in your role, do you deal pretty directly with like producer level?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if actually it's funny. Have you seen The Studio yet? Have you watched that?
No, it's on my short list though.
There's it's wonderful for so many reasons, but there's like one moment in that made me laugh so hard, where Seth Rogen comes to set and everyone's trying to, because he's the studio head, everyone's trying to keep him away from the director. And they set up his own monitor, so he's like a VIP monitor, basically just to keep him away from everyone. And let me tell you, I have done that so many times.
Really?
I've been told to keep this producer and this studio person away from the director, and it has never once worked.
Well, I have
to not do it.
Yeah, like I mean, it's that awful thing that we have allowed to happen where you know it comes from an idea of goodness in my opinion, in that like it's the logical progression of like the benefactor or like the sponsor, or you know like how like what's the word I'm forgetting, but how like you know Da Vinci had the Medici's patrons. Thank you. Right. You know, they're essentially patrons, right?
Yeah, that's
you know?
true. Yeah.
But the thing was,
but patrons, I feel like the difference is patrons were doing it. Oh yeah, okay.
No, please go on. Yeah.
That patrons were doing it because they believed in the art and they wanted to see the art produced. These guys just want to make money.
That's it right there.
Yeah.
That's literally it right there. Where I mean, I'm sure the fucking Medici's were sticking their hands in where they shouldn't been. I'm sure the patrons were saying, maybe you could paint a little, you know, maybe make me a little less jowly or whatever the fuck, right? You know, I'm sure that was going on. Yeah. But at least the sort of ethos of it seems to me, 400 years removed from it, like they were paying to support the artist and to celebrate the artist. And also, you know, it reflected well on them, because if they're patronizing successful artists, then how cool are we, right? You know, but it was pushing for the art to be produced, whereas now the producers are like, this fucking dumbass director, he's just there because on my whim, and I probably know better than him, so yes, make that giant robot spider the third act, you know, that kind of shit, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's, to be fair, it's not every producer. There are some wonderful, passionate people out there. Especially I find in television, because so many of them are writers themselves.
Right, yeah.
But there are the other kind as well.
Now, is a producer, for my own kind of like, because I've never interacted higher than like, you know, a director, like a producer, can essentially anyone with money become a producer? Or do they become like a...
Yeah, so there are different types of producers and different reasons people would be listed as a producer in a project. Some of them might be writers, some of them might creators, some of them might just put money in. Some of them might have maybe owned the rights to the IP.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's like many different reasons why you might be listed as a producer.
And would that be like why you're called, like, what would be the difference between an executive producer and a producer?
Executive producer, essentially more money, more power.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. There's probably more definitive reasons than that, but
because you sometimes see people credited as executive producers who clearly had nothing to do with the movie whatsoever. They just like, you know, I can't think.
They probably own the studio.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
produced the movie or something like that. Yeah.
Gotcha. And so in the sort of current ethos, like, what? How do I put it? What do they do other than be like, why am I giving you money? You know?
I mean, it's like I said, there's so many different ways to be a producer. Some of them, like, you will have good example is TV, will have a showrunner, which basically, because every episode is directed by a different director, the showrunner kind of keeps the cohesiveness of the story and the style throughout the series. So that they tend to be pretty hands-on, and are constantly reviewing aspects going to the show, such as like props and costumes and ideas, and you know, they'll approve all the different storylines by different writers and things like that. But then there might just be someone who's like just keeping the show on budget, you know, so that generally different producers will have a different role.
Oh, so there's, and of course, there's going to be multiple producers on these projects too, right?
There's so many.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
It's like a list of like 10 normally.
So it's just like a whole nother tier of like, you break through the ceiling and then suddenly you're in another level of bureaucracy, kind of like.
Yeah.
God damn. It just never ends, does it?
No,
there's just always.
So every boss probably has another boss as well. You know?
Fucking hell. Is there ever an end? Like, is there ever anyone who's not answering to someone?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I guess the people who are in the studios.
Right, okay. Yeah.
You know, those CEOs and stuff.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I mean, you don't tend to really hear from them anyway.
Right.
But not at my level anyway.
I guess they're technically still answering to like shareholders and stuff too, though, right? Like it's
I guess so. Yeah. Right.
It never ends, does it? You know? Jesus fucking Christ. So what got you into film initially? Like you said, you were working in Australia on it, and so like what attracted you to working there?
Kind of just the same as you. I just always loved movies and loved TV shows. You know, I was such a TV addict and movie addict from when I was a little kid. And I don't think I really considered it as a career until maybe later in high school. And, you know, I think I was a millennial who was told they could do anything they wanted to do, even if I didn't know anyone who was actually doing that. And so just decided to get overly ambitious and studied film at university and then spent a number of years volunteering on things, not making any money and working as a receptionist. But eventually I did get a job at a community TV station in Melbourne, C31. And that was really fun and stuff, but it was sort of still another side of the industry, which was I was working with independent producers who were creating their own content and sort of giving them advice on that. And, you know, I got to choose the schedule for the TV station.
Gotcha.
You know, where TV shows, what time slots they got and stuff. So that was
yeah,
kind of fun, but, you know, there's always, like I say I got to choose it. There was many things that I had to sort of take into account. The car show's got the best time slots. I would not have chosen that. But they were our moneymakers, so they got the best time slots. Yeah. So, yeah.
Is there, like, you know, I recognize that Canada is similar in the sense that, like, we're all kind of feeder trails to Hollywood, right? That's sort of the kind of end goal. But, like, is there any way in these other countries to, like, forge a different path? Like, or is it really the only way to truly genuinely cement making it is, like, succeeding in LA?
I would say, I mean, there has been some very good Australian movies produced over the years that I'd say sort of broke through.
Was Australia an Australian movie? With Hugh Jackman and Nicole Kidman?
I think it was funded from the US. I mean, I think it was shot in Australia with an Australian crew, but the US money was coming in.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure. I haven't looked into the finances, but I would hazard a guess that there was some American dollars behind that. That's funny. I haven't thought about that movie in so many years. So, like, the main one that's coming to mind at the moment is Talk to Me.
Sure,
which was such a hit. And I just saw Bring Her Back, which was also excellent.
Right, yeah. That one is not, I'm not going to be able to do that in theaters. I already know.
We'll talk about that later. But it's a great movie. So I think a lot of these big Australian directors, even once they make it big, then you can just get so much more funding.
Right.
Through going through the US studio systems, whereas a lot of the films made in Australia are sort of privately funded, and there is some government funding as well, but it's much smaller budgets generally that you're dealing with. So to make a big budget movie, you tend to have to go to the US.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And I feel like that's kind of the same. Like if you're not Paul Gross. In Canada,
I mean, maybe the UK and stuff would probably be a better example of having a more stronger film industry.
That's what I was curious about. That was the next one, because I was sort of I feel like, you know, Canada, Australia in so many ways are kind of similar cultural levels, you know, and then the UK, but you still see so many UK actors kind of like honing their craft over there and then still coming here to, like, get paid. You know, like,
I think the money is in the US.
Right. Okay.
Like, they can make excellent movies in so many countries, but
the paycheck is here.
Yeah, you're getting more money from the US because they're bringing in more money. They've just got that, you know, such a wider reach.
Right. I love the pipeline of all the blonde British actors who moved to the States and immediately they're now all dark-haired. You know, the
I've never thought about
Tom
this.
Hiddleston. I seem to remember Benedict Cumberbatch being lighter haired in the UK. There's a few examples of it, you know. But
why is this?
I have no idea. That's what I'm curious. I was like, I don't know.
Like,
right?
I've
You know?
never thought about this.
Yeah. They all, you know, their agent is like, nobody likes a blonde Brit,
you know,
right? Yeah.
That's probably true.
Actually, when I think about it, are there any blonde British people that are likable? The only blondes I can think of who are British are the royal family, and, like, fuck them, you know? So,
yeah, I'm trying to think now. Yeah, I can't think of any blonde British. I keep thinking Kate Blanchett, and then I'm like, oh no, she's Australian.
I was gonna say, she's not. Yeah.
She just seems British. She has a British vibe.
She carries herself Britishly, you know? Yeah. Um, and you know, the back end of film is so fascinating to me, and the idea, something that we've talked about many
Yeah.
times, just offhandedly hanging out. But I find myself so intimidated by is the idea of creating films is so alluring and is so magical, and
Yeah.
yet the as you're saying, the resource commitment needed
Mm.
to make something even passably worthwhile
Yeah.
is just so out of reach.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, in your experience, like, how have you been seeing, like, how do people adapt to that? Because I often hear about people are like, well, I had no money, so I had to write a two-hander film that took place in a living room because that's all I had.
Mm.
But then we've got like horror movies that are like, nah, fuck that. We're gonna make it about demons, and it's gonna be all kinds of crazy shit, and so it's like, how do you adapt to those kinds of resource needs?
Do you mean going from low budget to high budget films, or
No,
no?
like
I'm sure.
keeping it low budget. Like,
Oh, keeping it.
how the fuck do you do it? I mean, maybe this is way too
Yeah.
broad of a question, but it is one of those things that's like always stopped me from ever trying, because I've just been like, I don't even know where you would fucking start.
It is tough. I think the easiest way to make a low budget film is to have good friends and networks who
Right.
will volunteer their time and
Right.
possibly the equipment they own and
Yeah.
things like that. In the hopefully in the idea that you'll do the same for them.
Right,
So it's
sure.
kind of like a co-op situation.
Mhm,
And I've volunteered on friends' films, and I'm still willing to volunteer on a friend's film if I think
Sure.
it's a worthwhile project. That being said, it's also hard to find the time to do that when you're already actually working, because the weeks are so long.
Well,
But
that's just it. Like,
yeah.
how do you even pull something like that off in a place like Vancouver, where it's like, nah, man, I gotta pay rent. Like,
Yeah, I mean, but I guess with film you generally do tend to take time off in between gigs, just because you would die if you didn't. Like, if
Right.
you worked the full year straight, like, you would burn out so
Right.
fast.
Yeah.
So I guess people do take time off in between. You might take
Sure.
a couple of months off, so
Might
you
as well
might
fill it with a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you might do a short film then, and generally you'd film something like that hopefully in a couple of days.
Right.
You might
yeah.
try and do it. Yeah.
How have you been seeing? So I just saw this video today from a account that I really like, on TikTok, who was talking about how he used to have these dreams of being a filmmaker, and he's since kind of shifted to being more focused on, he wants to be a YouTuber, and
Yeah.
because he's seen the sort of entry barriers into the
Mm.
film world being so difficult to navigate and kind of get through, that YouTube has created this whole new ecosystem that you can get into easier.
Yeah.
Have you seen that kind of like outflow of new creatives, or is it just creating a different type of creator? Like, how are you seeing that?
I mean, for sure, it's so, like, I think everyone starts out wanting to be a director.
Of course,
we
yeah.
just all want to be directors.
Yeah. Who
Because
wouldn't want to be fucking Steven Spielberg?
I know,
Like,
exactly.
how fucking,
I want
like,
to tell every single person what to do. Like,
literally,
have a
right?
whole
Yep.
army at your disposal of people.
Yep.
But there is so many barriers, and especially because you can create these wonderful low budget films, but like, if you're making a film without money, your writing has to be like out of this
Impeccable.
world.
Yeah.
Like, really, you either need money or you need like the most incredible writing anyone's ever seen
Yeah.
to really make an impact in these competitive like short film competitions and things. That anything that will lead you to a really good career. And even there's a lot of barriers. They are, like I say, barriers in that these can all be overcome if
Of
you
course.
work hard enough to dedicate yourself enough. But it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've sort of even moved away. Like, I've sort of moved away from being a director. I won't say that I'll never direct anything ever again.
Sure.
But I have just seen so many people work for so many years and struggle and struggle and struggle, and just constant step backs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, it is that funny thing too, isn't it? Of like, it's one of those. There's so many trap doors.
Yeah.
In that it feels like an industry where you think oh, if I start as a a PA, I can work my
Mm.
way up and I can build connections and people know me and then I can grow into up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
But more often than not, it's just the shithead who shows up and is like, "Nah, I'm a director. Go fuck yourself. I've never done that. I never will do that." Like it's like sometimes it's the
Yeah.
people who sort of like have the audacity and the arrogance to jump the line. You
Yeah,
know.
they tend that tends to be easier if you're from the US as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
There is more barriers if
Mhm.
you're a Canadian or from somewhere else
Totally.
working within the US film industry than if you're actually from
Yeah,
the
I guess you
US.
can't just show up and say, "Hey,
Yeah,
you're working for me
they're
now."
like, union.
Yeah.
Are you in the union? And you're
Yeah.
like, no, I'm
Yeah.
not in the union.
Yeah.
So
How are you seeing this sort of like with that kind of like international collaborative market or like just the international market in general? Like is it growing or is it shrinking? Like is there more opportunity now to get like international visibility from a locally created project, or is it still like if it's not made in the US, it's not being seen anywhere but
um,
its home country?
I'm not sure if I really know that much about that,
Sure.
to be honest.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
um, I know like a lot of the streamers and stuff have agreements with different countries that they have to show so much Canadian content or Australian content
course,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. And like I guess there are a number of Australian shows that I've seen living in Canada that have sort of made it over here and are on Netflix and things like that here. So maybe, but I
Yeah.
don't know how that compares to like pre-streamers.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. I guess it was
Yeah.
just I've also felt that like Netflix has become the new format for like direct video, like what would have
Yeah.
been direct video.
Yeah.
And so it's like so many movies that it's like, "Oh, this was a great elevator pitch."
Yeah.
And they didn't think beyond that,
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
But so you
Yeah.
said you said you've still got or you've had aspirations to direct and
Yeah.
may still have.
Yeah.
Is that sort of like the kind of like, I don't know if I would call it the end goal, but is that sort of like the aspirational field goal you're going for?
Maybe, but to be fair, I haven't put in much effort in the last few years.
That's so fair.
I don't think it is anymore, to be honest. I think it's something that if I did it, I'd do it because it was something I enjoyed and
Sure.
I wanted to do. I don't think I have the drive to be a big Hollywood movie director
Sure.
anymore.
Yeah.
As fun as that would be, I think as I've gotten older, I've got kind of more realistic about the life what that would actually look like, and it's become less appealing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's something I've been thinking about a
Yeah.
ton lately, actually, because I listen to a lot of like movie podcasts and I
Yeah.
listen to a lot of the, and something that keeps on popping up in my mind is this idea of like all the stories that ignited my imagination as a kid, and as I grew up, and all the people who I thought like, wouldn't that be a cool life to have, Steven Spielberg, these kinds of things, right? Like that's never gonna happen again. It kind of can't.
It's probably true.
Like the way that sort of class of directors came up and the way they worked together and the way they just kind of bamboozled studios for money and made their shit and like it just kind of can't happen anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's like not worth beating yourself up for not being able to replicate that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I think when I was younger, I thought I was going to make a couple of short films that made everyone realize I was a genius, and then they would just give me millions of dollars to make my feature.
Yep.
I think that's how I thought it worked.
Yep.
Which I guess occasionally that does still happen.
It's just that instead of making your big feature, instead they're like, here, make a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They make The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe again.
Yeah. Literally. But then if it bombs, you'll never work in this town again.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
it's such a bizarre like tightrope walk that they make new directors walk.
Yeah.
And that kind of like trial by fire kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's I guess it's a way to see if they can hang with the old boys club kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
Yeah.
We were talking before. This is a funny transition, but it really links into stuff in a sense of like the formation of Hollywood is such a funny little sidebar fascination for me, you know, and just like how Hollywood itself, like how it developed, is a whole thing we can't even scratch.
Yeah.
But like we were talking in our first try at the podcast, we were talking about the history of the Oscars and what kind of caused it to come out, and it's surprisingly really related to stuff that's going on recently, you know, stuff about the strikes and stuff about all these kinds of things. And can you remind me again what what was the impetus for creating the Oscars?
So we're talking about, I think, sort of what departments receive Oscars and what don't. And so the Oscars was actually kind of created as like a union busting tactic. It's actually a really funny story. I had to look this up to remind myself of it, but Louis B. Mayer, who was one of the M's in MGM, so like a really big deal.
Famously a piece of shit.
Yeah. So he was, it's such a ridiculous story. He was building a beach house, and he wanted to use industry labor, like film industry labor, because they could do it much quicker than actual, you know, architects and house builders.
And cheaper for him in that way, yeah.
And someone reminded him that they'd recently unionized, so that it was going to cost him a lot more money than it otherwise would have to build this beach house. I love that it's not related to filming a movie, it's just to build his beach house. And this kind of, I guess, spurred in his mind that he had to stop everyone else in the industry from unionizing, because at that point actors and directors and things, a lot of departments hadn't unionized yet. So he created the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. I think he just threw in the science to make it sound more spiffy. Yeah. And the idea was that this would he would tell everyone that this academy would look after them and deal with disputes and things like this, but actually it was just made up of studio heads and producers and things like this. And the Oscars kind of came out of this as, you know, this academy that formed. And one of the ideas sort of behind it was that people would view themselves as like independent artists rather than laborers. So they wouldn't kind of get the idea of joining a union because that's a labor thing to do. So and he's actually quoted as saying, I think the quote is, "Give them awards and cups and they'll kill themselves to make what I want to produce."
Wow. It's so fascinating, because that sparks a thought of me that's something that they still do today in pro wrestling. Like in the WWE, they're all their wrestlers are hired as independent contractors. So they're not actually employees of the company. They're independent contractors. And yet they're also not allowed to take any contracts with any other company. They're not allowed to do anything else that's not approved by the WWE. So it's like independent in name only.
Well, it's even worse when you think about back when the Oscars were created, they were still under the studio contracts. So as an actor, you were employed by the studio.
Right.
And they told you what movies you had to do and you couldn't work for anyone else. And all that,
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, this is, you know, deep in the recesses of my brain from binging You Must Remember This years ago. But there was some connection to the formation of United Artists with this stuff. Because United Artists was like a bunch of actors getting together and becoming producers. I just remember Boris Karloff was a part of it.
Okay.
But do you remember any of that? Am I totally no? Okay.
So what I thought sort of happened was that during the Depression, they kind of did some dodgy contracts where they decided to pay everyone who wasn't unionized like 50% less.
Jesus.
And the Academy kind of agreed to that. I thought that sort of led to the forming of actor unions and things. But I could be less clear on those details.
I defer to you way more than to me.
No one quote me on this.
Can you explain to me why movies are so expensive?
I mean,
like, what is it like, you know, like, because you look at some of these movies and you're like, how is that $1 billion? Like, how is this Marvel movie $1 billion?
Well, yeah, apparently the new Marvel movie is going to be the first of $1 billion movie.
Like, how?
That's crazy. I mean, I'm no expert, but there's a lot of people
sure
working incredibly long hours, so you're paying a lot of unionized people working incredibly long hours,
Yeah.
so you're paying them lots of money. Like I said, you
Yeah.
can make very good money working in the film
Fair.
industry.
Yeah, fair.
And when it's something like Marvel, like those actors are getting paid
Right.
ginormous contracts.
I mean, Robert Downey Jr. he's probably clearing $100 million himself,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'd say a lot of that, plus all the producers would be getting ginormous paychecks.
Yeah.
So I'd say a lot of the money would just be purely paying people. And then when it's something like a Marvel movie, like all the special effects and huge locations, so many extras.
Right.
And I mean, there is a lot of very specialized equipment as well in movies.
Yeah.
Things that are designed specifically for.
Because it's not like you own the camera or those kinds of things. Like,
well, often a camera operator will own their camera, and then they'll lease it to the production and things like that. Yeah, a lot of people own their own equipment because that's another income then for them when you loan out your equipment.
Oh,
yeah,
that's so interesting. Because I would have always thought like the studio would own the cameras.
No, a lot of the time all the equipment is leased.
Wow.
So that's another big cost. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it might be different in the US, but that's definitely the way a lot of the time it works here is you rent all the equipment.
From the operators?
Or from rental companies.
Yeah.
But a lot of people have come with their kit and then they'll have a kit rental fee.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is there ever the case of like, you've hired some guy and he's like, yeah, I got a camera, and he shows up, he's just got the wrong camera, and you're like, oh, we're fucked,
Oh no.
Okay,
I think like I'm not saying all camera operators do this either, but also as particularly if like the director wants to shoot on a particular type of camera, but like often they'll be like, oh, this is my camera, but maybe they'll rent other lenses to go with it for that movie and things like that. Yeah.
I'm gonna do a little bit of a funny pivot, and I'm gonna try and relate some of this to the exploration of the show. Because something we're dancing around this idea of like we're dancing around community, and we're dancing around this idea of connections and these kinds of things. And I'm curious, in your experience, like, what sort of community is fostered out of this type of career?
It's a really strong one.
Yeah.
To be fair, the film industry community is so strong because you're jumping from project to project and you're meeting new people in every single project, and then you're jumping onto the next one and seeing those people that you saw 3 projects ago. So everyone kind of knows everyone, even though the industry's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is very cool that way.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of this interwoven group of people.
So, okay, that's really reassuring to hear because I like when I was in it was a similar thing in the theater world, but what I found in theater was that because there's no money anywhere, everybody knows each other, but everybody kind of low key hates each other. Because there's just always this slight tension, you know, like and I don't think even most people would even acknowledge it or even realize it, but there's just always this like underlying vibration of tension because it's like, oh, I'm so happy for you that you get to do that play. It's the one play that pays well this year, whereas I guess in film, because there is the opportunity for more money, maybe there's less of that.
I would say there's still probably an element of it, but probably a bit less.
Yeah. And is there much crossover in terms of sort of like, because you hear stories about like directors who will basically just work with the same people over and over,
yeah, I mean, a lot of people tend to have their team, but then like, so I work in the AD department and I work with a lot of the same people sometimes, but then the grip team will be different on that project to like the makeup team, and so it's sort of the departments that switch out depending on which project you're going on to.
Gotcha. So is that sort of like forgive me if I'm grilling you on this stuff.
No,
I find it so fascinating and I don't know anything about it, so is that like, you're hiring sort of like, I'm thinking of it from the viewer perspective of like, you to take the Oscars for example, somebody gets nominated for best makeup, right? And it's like some person who clearly wasn't the only person doing the fucking makeup on the movie, but they're the one who's accepting
so that'd be the
sort of in name, right?
head makeup artist. Yeah.
So when you're building out your team, it's like you hire them and then they build out their team below, or
generally yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And they'll often approve looks and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I just I've got, oh my god, I'm sure you've got a billion funny on-set stories. For some reason the one that sparked to mind for me when you said about approved looks and stuff was, I remember one time I got a little bit part on what was it called, Hold the Dark.
Okay.
The guy who did Green Room,
Yeah, I
Blue
think I've heard of
Ruin.
this movie. It's on the
Yeah,
list. I've heard good
it's
things.
terrible.
Oh, really?
It was his first miss.
Oh, okay.
Although that his latest one, the oh my god, I'm totally blanking on what it was. It was Netflix released. It was fucking awesome. It was about a guy
Oh,
trying to get his cousin out of prison.
I don't know this one.
It's fucking awesome.
Okay, I'll have
So
to- you'll
good.
have to let me know.
I don't want to like break the momentum and start googling, but it ruled.
Okay.
But this other one, big whiff. But I got this tiny little part as like the forensics photographer.
Okay.
And they went through different stages. The whole time I had this killer mustache, and I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that's why I got hired, because I had this fucking awesome mustache that like just stood out. I get on set and they've been filming all day. I get on set at 3 a.m. because it's nighttime shooting shit,
Yeah.
The first thing they do is they're like, "Oh, the director wants you to shave."
Oh,
so it's just like, where did this fall apart? Like, where did this communication fall
yeah.
apart?
It's interesting because I would have thought the director would have approved your casting, and then yeah.
This is
I've
where
seen
I
it
was,
happen though. To be fair,
right? Like, this is where I showed up. I was
Yeah.
like, really? Okay. So
Yeah.
this poor like set assistant like had to shave me, and then like had to like extra like razor shave me to make sure it was even
yeah.
more, and like delayed shooting because they were like, no, get that mustache out of here, but
Yeah, it does happen.
it's yeah, I just like where did those breakdowns occur?
I think sometimes the director just thinks in their head, we'll have him clean shaven on the day, and there's a million things happening, and
Right.
that doesn't get past, or they don't
Right.
even say it out loud because they're thinking about a million things and never
Right.
gets down the chain.
Right, yeah.
So it does happen.
I feel like that would be the piece that I would make me fall apart as a director, is like having to clock it
Yeah.
and then having to communicate it.
Yeah.
And having to be like, no, this is what I'm actually thinking.
Yeah.
There would be so many breakdowns on the set of like, why can't you just read my mind?
Yeah. And I've worked with directors when that's happened.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And you're just kind of standing there staring at the
Yeah.
being like, I can't make this decision for you.
Yeah. And then, it wouldn't be a malicious thing. It would
Yeah.
just be like, I don't have the words. Someone help me, right?
Yeah, they're like, that's not right. You're like, oh, well, what would you like instead? And they're just like, You're like, I can't.
It really is. I remember when I was directing plays, like especially in university and stuff, and actors would have these questions, and I would have to just be like, I don't know. We'll talk about it tomorrow because I gotta think about this. But
Yeah.
it's like, it's so high pressure.
Yeah, but when you're at a film set and everyone's standing around waiting,
that's
you
just
can't-
it, right? It's one thing to be like, yeah, I'm doing a fucking student play.
Yeah.
There's no budget involved. Nobody's, right? No one's career is on the line here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it feels really intimidating. It feels really scary. But so do you have any kind of projects coming up? I guess maybe you can't really talk too much about that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I have a movie coming up, and I'll be honest, I haven't read the script yet. I try not to read the script until closer to the project, because it changes so often.
So fair. Yeah,
So I'm like,
yeah.
it's easier just for me to get
Yeah.
a few days before to sit down with the script and go through it.
Yeah.
I'm just a trailer third on that one, so I'm just working with processing the actors in the trailers, so I don't need to be too into the nuance of the script.
Sure.
If I was seconding, I'd do a lot more prep.
So I was gonna say, walk me through a little bit. I realize we're 40 minutes in, and I'd love to circle back to like, walk me through a little bit of what like your usual responsibilities are, sort of at the tier you're working.
Yeah, so I've been working as both a second and third AD. When I'm a second, I'm sort of the main. So the first AD basically does the schedule, runs the set, basically makes sure all the things get done. And as the second, I'm sort of their main support person. So I'm doing things like making sure people are aware when all these meetings are happening, what the schedule is, what they're going to need each day. So when we're shooting, I'll be doing the call sheet, and making sure everyone's aware of every single requirement for each scene and what time
Gotcha.
elements are needed and things like that.
Are you on set, or are you more like kind of off the side kind of thing?
So I will be on set
Yeah.
talking to people
Yeah.
about the next day and things like that, or stepping in if the first AD needs a hand with anything. But then I'll kind of sneak away to do paperwork and
Gotcha.
type up schedules. And
Gotcha.
so it's kind of a nice job that you kind of get to come and go a bit.
Yeah.
So you're involved, but then you're like, this is exhausting. I'm going to step out for a second.
Yeah,
and work on my paperwork.
Yeah, I'm trying to sort of envision, you know,
Yeah.
because like my experiences on set were like there were often, you know, 80 level people, but they were like literally like just outside the shot, you know, for some of the some of the movies, because you know they were helping like wrangle talent and stuff like that.
So
right?
often
You know?
the third or the trainee will be on set with the director, you know, directing background extras, cueing actors if you know they need an offset cue to walk into the middle of a scene or something like that. There also will maybe be next to the DOP, communicating between the DOP and the director and the first AD. So
yeah, because they never really like introduce their levels to you. They just you know, you just meet a guy and he's like, hey, I'm, you know, right, but you know, because I remember on the Revenant there was like a whole wave of them in different stages, and they had to cure all these different things, and it was all because of the horses. The horses just like would not behave. It was really funny. But
the next show I'm going on to is going to have a lot of horses.
Really?
So it's going to be interesting. Yeah.
They're a nightmare. They're so like, I mean, as just like I was just Joe Schmo. I was French Trapper number 3. You know, I was having a fucking blast. You know, but the director was losing his fucking mind.
Yeah,
you
they
know?
often just like decide to make a loud noise in the middle of an actor's line and things like that.
And they did this really funny thing. We did one take, and it was one of those like, you know the whole movie was these long one shots, you know,
right, yeah.
and we did one take, and then the horses figured out, oh, when this happens, I get to run, and they fucking love running.
Yeah.
They're literally built to run, so they would jump their cue all the time because they'd be like, oh, I can't wait, I get to fucking run now, right? You know? So they kept on blowing the shot, you know?
They're like, and now?
Right? You know? And it's so funny because they had like 3 teams of horses rotating because one would blow the shot, one had to be on deck ready to go, and then there was a third beam like wheeled back from the end of the course kind of thing, you know, and they just kept on fucking it up. It was so funny. It took all afternoon to get one shot because the horses kept on being like, nah, you know.
Yeah, no, you know, things about animals. I once worked with this dog that was a puppy, basically, you know, and they just could not get it. Like, it just had to like run around. Like, it wasn't even something hard it had to do. It was just like run up to this actor and then kind of sniff it and then go away. This dog was doing everything, but at one point it like ran off and then came back with like a sandwich in its mouth. Like stolen one of the crew members' sandwiches.
Fuck yes.
Like,
that's gold. You're giving me gold. You know, like, are we rolling?
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it was a post-apocalyptic story, so it didn't make much sense for there to be like, a sandwich suddenly appearing in the shot.
Yeah, I guess that creates some continuity issues, you know, but still.
Yeah,
you know,
it was pretty funny, though.
Outtakes, you know, but that's when you scrap the script, and you're like, no, this is what we're filming now, you know?
It was a very cute dog. It did get better as it got older.
Yeah. Film animals are always such a funny, tricky thing for me because it's like, I mean, I recognize obviously they're much better now, but like just the idea of like essentially the dancing monkey, you know, like the sort of like just being bred to just be these, you know, and it's, I don't know, it always makes me feel a little weird. I
don't know. I think some of them love it.
Yeah.
To be honest, they always, in fact, they have a real issue. I don't know if it's kind of one of those funny facts from movies. They have a real issue with dogs wagging their tails a lot of the time in movies because they're so happy to be on set.
They have to like CGI their tails out because they're just like so happy to be doing a good job, you know? Yeah.
So I think generally they like it, especially, you know, dogs are kind of, they're so bred to.
I was gonna say, but dogs are, I mean, bless them. I love every dog.
If you're getting into like non-domesticated animals, it might be more of an issue. But they have they're so strict on animal welfare. On movies. We have to have an AHA representative on set and things like
No
that.
more of that like Werner Herzog
No.
fucking standing on rats and shit and all that stuff, right?
Yeah,
You know, yeah.
no.
But I always think I used to have to laugh about dogs. It's sort of like they're so dumb that they
Yeah.
kind of don't know any better than to be happy. You know,
Yeah.
like bless them. That's not me trying to subtweet dogs, but it's sort of like how could they know to not be happy?
Yeah.
You know, right?
Yeah.
You know, like
No, I actually heard a story from a director recently where they were saying they wanted to have a scene in a restaurant with a lobster in the tank, and they were told they would have to go out and catch a live lobster from the ocean and then return it to the ocean to be able to do this. And they're like, we can't just go to T&T and buy one from the
there's
supermarket.
literally dozens.
No, you can't. If it's in a movie, they had to go and get one. It was like the most twisted logic. Yeah.
Is
in
that
the end, they just didn't do the scene.
Yeah, I imagine that
They're
probably
like,
cuts
"This is
possibilities out.
weird."
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, does that so like? What is the thinking behind that? What's the? Because that feels like that's way more traumatic for that lobster.
I think it can't be like that you're killing a creature for a film, even though.
But you're just filming it. You're not killing it.
I,
And in fact, you're saving that poor lobster from being
I
eaten.
guess, what are you doing with it afterwards, though? You're not going to go put a lobster from a supermarket back in the ocean, I guess. I don't know. Could you? I don't know enough about lobsters to know this. I feel like maybe you could.
I mean, fuck lobsters, but that's just my own seafood biases.
But there was just some really weird logic behind this that you can buy a lobster and eat it, but you can't buy a lobster and put it in a movie.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that obviously. Yeah. This is not a kind thought of mine, but I'm also like, yeah. Sea creatures are monsters, and so like
I like lobsters. They live such a long time.
Do they really?
I think they live like 100 years or something.
Aren't they like technically an arachnid or something? Like there's something
think
weird
so,
about like
maybe.
yeah, I don't know, they freak me
Yeah.
out. They're
So
sea
they
animals
mate
like
for
that.
life as well.
Do they really?
Did I make that up?
That's cute.
I might have.
Something
made that up, I'm
about
not
me
sure.
feels like they are a monogamous animal. There's something about like I can't help but feel like they give off the aesthetic of like I gotta settle for something. Look at me, like they're like beggars can't be choosers here,
Yeah,
Look
yeah.
at these fucking antenna,
I don't know. They're like red. They got some style.
Yeah. They're not supposed to go white, right? Like that's a bad sign.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe like deep sea lobsters are or something.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, lobsters fuck me up. Lobsters, shrimp, just crustaceans in general. I don't know. I'm not. That's been one of the easiest pieces of I haven't really talked about this on the show, but I have been gradually working my way towards a vegan diet. I've been very drastically cutting meat, and
I'm trying to cut meat too.
yeah, it's not as hard as you think it's gonna be once you kind
No.
of get going. I'm still not fully there. My first stage is going vegetarian and then eventually to vegan, but cheese is really hard to give up because the one thing that isn't as good in the vegan equivalent stuff for the most part actually fucking slaps.
How's vegan yogurt? I love yogurt.
This is the thing. The vegan dairy stuff is pretty hit and miss, especially like the vegan cheeses.
Yeah.
But I will say actually vegan ice cream
Yes, is
actually
good.
rules.
Coconut ice cream. Is
Yeah.
really good. Yeah.
So I almost would imagine that some of those other creams might be decent, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't speak confidently about it, but
I made banana skin bacon today.
oh, fuck yeah.
It was really good.
I'll bet.
It was just such a weird thing that I wanted to try it, and then I was like, oh, this is actually really good.
It's kind of leathery. I mean, I've had those like plantain chips and stuff, right? So
yeah, it's kind of like that. Similar vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it was good.
Ooh. I've never been, do you remember when like liking bacon was a whole personality in the like mid 2000s?
Yeah.
That one I never understood. I was always like, cool.
I was mostly vegetarian for quite a number of years.
Yeah.
And actually bacon kind of got to a point where it was pretty like the thought of it was kind of disgusting.
It's grotesque.
Yeah.
Bacon's the easiest the for me it's the easiest meat to miss out on.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know. It does taste good.
It can,
but
but
when I
like
think about it too much, I'm like, it's disgusting.
it's vile. Yeah. It I also pigs are my one of my top 3 favorite animals.
They're very cute.
And they're so smart.
Yes.
And they're so friendly.
Yeah.
And they're just like you think you like a dog? Meet a pig.
Yeah.
Pigs fucking rule compared to dogs, you know? Plus there's like 100 more pounds of them to go around.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
so
That's
it's
so
just
cute.
they're the best, you know? So yeah, dropping pork is the easy one for me. But
Okay. Yeah.
but that being said, cows are the same. They're fucking adorable and amazing and have little best friends. And yet I'm really struggling to drop cheeseburgers. So, you know, I'm nothing if not a hypocrite.
I can give up beef pretty
Yeah.
easily. Yeah. Yeah. Chicken's a hard one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chickens, I have a story for each one. Chickens, I'm always like, because I've raised chickens working in like Barkerville and stuff, and so like I have a bit of a blood feud with chickens.
Yeah,
because
they're kind of bitches.
Assholes. Oh my god, they're assholes. And so I always, you know, and they've evil eyes. Like chickens of all the birds, they have the evilest eye.
Well,
you know?
They're like dinosaurs.
Well, and that's just it. Every time I would look at the chickens, I'd always think you had your chance.
Yeah.
You know, like you used to rule the world, and now look at you. You know.
Very true. Very true.
Which is, you know, a pretty arrogant statement when looked at, but at the same time too, it made me laugh, right? But fucking chickens, evil motherfuckers, mean. Like literally, I never understood the true intention of the pecking order until I raised chickens. And I saw,
I've never thought about that. That sounds disturbing.
Because they literally have an order of who's allowed to eat when. And if they try to eat, they will get pecked out of the line.
Oh wow.
And like I kept like I think at its peak we had 4 hens and a rooster, and the like dominant hen would literally like peck the other one's feet till they were like bloody. Like they were awful little creatures. Yeah, so mean to each other. But
my sister used to have a really intense fear of chickens growing up.
Completely understandable. Yeah.
Terrified. Would like scream and run if she saw a chicken. It was pretty funny actually.
I get it. They're not, you know. Mine was geese. But,
geese is terrifying.
Fuck.
Yeah.
We used to call them snake geese.
Yeah.
You know, and they I carry a lot of goose trauma because when I was like 3 or 4, my favorite Ninja Turtles hat got stolen by a snake goose at Bowness Park in Calgary, and literally grabbed my hat off my head, ran into the lake, and I never saw it again.
I can imagine it.
Right?
Yeah. In Australia too, we have black swans.
Oh, evil.
Evil.
Yeah.
Assholes. Total evil assholes.
The only bird that I can think of that has teeth. Like straight up fucking, I mean not like but like their bill is like,
they're also just
toothy.
huge.
They're massive.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they don't.
What if
they haven't earned my
you
respect.
run.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They don't have my respect. They do have my fear though.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Oh my god.
I don't know how we got onto this.
I was gonna say I'm gonna try. I'm clocking the time. I was like, okay, we're gonna do a little wrap up, and we're gonna try and just centralize things.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and loop this back to a theme, and so
okay.
you know, obviously throughout the years I've been asking this question of what it means to be a friend and what that entails. But as we were talking before recording, you know, I'm trying to sort of slowly incorporate some new different aesthetics to the show. And so on the fly, I'm going to try and adjust this friendship question. and forgive me if this comes across as arrogant, but I'm curious about it. What is something that you value of our friendship?
Oh. I mean, I think I value our talks the most, which is why it was kind of nice to do something like this.
Exactly.
In that I think we both really are interested in the world, why it is the way it is. Is there anything we can do to make it better or otherwise adjust to make our lives better?
Yeah.
So I think, you know, being able to talk about those bigger issues is probably the thing I value.
I really appreciate that. Yeah. It's you know, I was thinking about how we became friends and how much I appreciated it. Because, you know, we met kind of in crossover, you know, mutual friend Lee,
Yeah.
and there was like I think it was that birthday party. I think it was Lee's birthday.
Maybe.
Or something like that. It was somebody's birthday. And I had been randomly invited to their house.
Yeah.
And we got talking, and you were I shouldn't say you were the only one of that party, but you were only one of you, and you were definitely the only one who continued to like kind of what felt like from my perspective to like make a point to connect and to talk and to like ask about me, you know, because I didn't know anybody there, and I barely knew why I was there, you know. And so it really meant a lot to me, you know. And that's a trait that I really value in you, is your sort of you have this really deep empathy, and you have this deep curiosity that I really appreciate, you know.
Oh, that's
so
nice.
yeah.
Thank you.
What is something that you would like to try? This is the other question I'm gonna put a twist on to close out the episode. Normally, I ask, you know, what's something listeners could try doing, making it this kind of actionable, like you should go do this. But I'm gonna put the onus on us.
Okay.
What is something that we should try doing in the next week, either to try and be more effective friends to each other, or more effective friends to kind of our community at large?
Okay.
And if listeners like it, they can try it too.
Yeah, something I've been sort of thinking about lately and trying to be better at is asking people for things when I need them.
Sure.
And not just trying to be uber independent.
Yeah.
Which is such a default for me, just trying to do everything myself.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've kind of realized is when you do that, you end up just playing into capitalism a lot and just paying people to do things for you. So I've really been thinking about things like, you know, if you need a piece of furniture put together, just as an example, ask your friends, come over and ask if they can help you do it.
Yeah.
Things like that. Because then also they feel that then they can ask you.
Yeah.
And I think that's when you really feel like you're friends with someone.
Yeah.
When it's not just, oh, I'm just around you when you're being fun.
Yep.
It's like we all have needs. We all need help with things in different ways. Yeah, that's something I've been working on.
I really like that. And I think the way you're framing it too is really important to recognize, is this idea of like people want to help.
Yeah.
You know, and I know for me, I don't want to just hang out for good times.
Yeah.
Like the people who I am building friendships with right now are people who I actively want, and you're very much within this, you know, umbrella that I'm describing. They're people who I want to develop like fulsome friendships with, not just like see you when we're happy. You know, like they're people who I want to be genuinely strongly connected to. You know, and you know, it is that funny thing. I love that reminder of like, because I'm the exact same way. I when I'm struggling, my impulse is like, well, figure it out or you don't get to have it, kind of thing. Right? You know, and that's so counterintuitive to like what community building is, which is like, sometimes you don't know how to do something. Sometimes you can't do something. That's no failing. That's no bad thing. It's just like, that's why you have friends.
Yeah, that's why you have a community.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. I love that. Tessa, you're the best. I'm going to make a point to ask you to help me with something this week.
Yeah.
I don't know what it'll be. We'll figure it out.
I'm going away next week, so I might not be available.
Okay, fair. Okay.
The week after.
Fair. Yeah. I'll postpone any problems till then, you know, right? Yeah.
Not that I wouldn't help, I just might not be here.
Maybe I'll practice asking.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
right?
exactly. If I can help over the phone.
Right. There's also that extra layer of learning to survive being told no.
Yes.
Right?
True. Yeah, sometimes
you know?
that's okay. If sometimes people say, "No, sorry, I can't help."
Yep.
That's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how it's like, oh my God, that fear of rejection and being like, no, it's literally just being, it's a word, you know? No one's dead.
Yeah.
Tessa, you're the best.
Oh, you're the best.
Anything you want to plug before wrapping up?
No. really have
Cool.
anything to plug.
Cool.
I'm just a person.
Fair. I love it. Well, yeah, thank you so much for taking your time. I really appreciate this.
Thank you for having me.
You got it. That's it. Thank you one more time to Tessa for coming on the show. I just love her to bits. Unfortunately, she has nothing to plug, so if you go to the show notes, all you're going to find are links for Friendless content. But not so unfortunately, if you go to the show notes, you're going to find links to more Friendless content. But hey, if you did like the show, please be sure to leave a 5-star review wherever you listened and share it with a friend. And if you do want more Friendless content, be sure to sign up for the newsletter. I have to admit, I only just realized I totally blanked on sending out the June newsletter, so that is coming shortly, and then the July will become coming very quickly after that because it's already halfway through the month. Oh my god. Linear time is a butthead. But that's going to be it for me. I have nothing else to plug right now, and I don't want to eat up more of your precious time. So let's leave things here. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to catch you back here next week. But hey, as always, I'm going to do my best not to worry about that, and neither should you, because that is then, and this is now. So for now, I'll just say I love you, and I wish you well. Fun and safety, sweet peas.